I think it's no surprise that I am a huge Resident Evil fan. I covered one of the more lukewarm entries of the series on my channel so far, but if someone put a gun to my head and forced me to make a top 50 list of my all-time favorite games, all of these would absolutely find its place there. Yes, even this one, Fight Me. It's an amazing mix of smartly designed gameplay, strong atmosphere and loads of charm, perfectly balancing itself between the right amount of cheesy and genuinely horrifying. But today I unfortunately won't talk about the reasons why I love this series or about the actually good entries. Today I'll talk about a game from my 2 playlist for this year, which I already briefly mentioned before, but felt like it deserves more than just a rapid fire micro review. Not for the right kind of reason though, because in today's Halloween special, at least I hope it's a Halloween special, I'll talk about the grey sheep of the family. On paper, Resident Evil 0 doesn't really look that bad. A prequel to the legendary Resident Evil 1 remake, a survival horror built on the exact same systems and mechanics, a great opportunity to explore the background and story of one of its characters more thoroughly, to see what really happened to the beta team on that day. Add the character switching mechanic, allowing you to control its 2 main characters, Rebecca Chambers and Billy Cohen, at the same time, and you have something that looks like a blueprint for a pretty good time. But just because you're heavily based on one of the best video games of all time and the core idea seems promising, it doesn't mean that you will end up with something worthwhile. Let's start off with the positives here. The fact that you play as 2 characters and can switch between them at any time creates few pretty interesting puzzles in which you need to utilize both characters in different parts of the map, sending each other items via the conveniently placed lifts or activating something the other character doesn't have access to. Overall, the way the character switching works is impressive. It's seamless even when you're in different parts of the map, and you can also set behaviors to the second character, making sure they are either saving up on ammo or protecting you. A well-designed feature. I'm sure that will be a running theme with this game, right? Another positive aspect, the very first location of the game, the train, might just be my all-time favorite Resident Evil area overall. Not because of its strong design really, it's mostly just 2 floors of simple straightforward narrow halls, but because of its atmosphere. There's just something so calm and spooky at the same time about being on a train bathed in an orange light during a rainstorm, one filled with zombies and God knows what else. That's a vibe Resident Evil as a series always excelled at, calming dread, feeling relaxed and slightly scared at the same time. While playing through this section, all I was thinking about is how I can wait to see how Zero uses this location and expands on it, about all the potential here. Just think of the possibilities. Maybe we could stop to refill the fuel and explore the station, or we'll need to attach additional cars and expand the playing field that way, or maybe we'll need to jump on another train, or maybe we could... And with that, we're moving on to the negatives. Before I'll start ranting about everything else, let's talk about by far the most controversial aspect of this game. Item boxes are completely gone. You could argue that this is a way to balance the fact that you now have 2 playable characters and with that double the storage. I thought the same, but several important items used for solving puzzles use up 2 slots, which also isn't counting weapons and crafting materials. This means you'll be struggling with storage the entire game and will often be forced to leave items behind. And as you may have already guessed, that's a bit of a game design double-edged sword. On one hand, the planning and decision making that comes with this can be fun. It creates a small constant puzzle game you play on the background, trying to split useful and important items between your 2 characters. On the other, it often creates gameplay that is simply annoying and tedious to engage with, either forcing you to backtrack because you didn't have enough space to share, or in the worst case scenarios, cutting off your characters from resources in sections in which you're separated, which is not something you can always plan for. Talking about separated, Resident Evil 0 doesn't know how to work with its locations. That bit about the train wasn't just me being sad about losing on an atmospheric location, it's a bigger issue that damages the entire game. One thing I really love about the survival horror Resident Evils is the way their main locations slowly expand and evolve over the course of the game, as you unlock new parts or new ways to travel through them. Resident Evil 0 doesn't really do that, and while its main location of the Umbrella training facility does slowly expand, it just feels like you're unlocking new areas instead of building on those you already explored, as there very rarely a reason to return to locations again. And I know games like Resident Evil 3 or 4 just give you new locations instead of building on the old ones as well, but here we got another issue regarding the locations. They're awfully boring. terrain is excellent and parts of the main training facility have certain charm, but a lot of this game just lacks atmosphere and vibe this series is known for completely. They lack memorable moments or a specific, unique vibe. The last area specifically, the treatment plant, might just be my least favorite location in any Resident Evil game, with obnoxious, confusing design and ugly visuals. So far I talked about several major issues Resident Evil 0 has, but we didn't even actually get to the worst one yet, because that would be the enemy design. Creatures and monsters of Resident Evil games are something that holds a really high standard. Not every game is super diverse in its offering of foes, and not every monster you face is a game design masterpiece. But in general, these games have a cast of enemies that are interesting and fun to fight. They have clearly established rules and strategies you must keep in mind and work together with them. None of them also feel absolutely overpowered. Meet the leech zombie, the de facto main enemy type of Resident Evil 0. It can take several magazines, its main weakness is an awkward to use Molotov that takes few seconds to have any effect at all, and it also has a long reaching attack capable of killing you in few hits. Oh, and it also explodes on death and spawns damaging leeches. Have fun. Then you also have infected monkeys, which are fast, small enemies capable of easily stunlocking you and always appearing in groups. Or these toads, capable of simply insta-killing you. Enemy design in Resident Evil 0 is a mess. It has not one, not two, but 3 examples of the worst and most frustrating enemies Resident Evil as a series has to offer. Combine this with the limited inventory space, meaning that you don't always have resources to deal with the enemies, and with the need to occasionally backtrack, and you have a recipe for a disaster. Resident Evil as a series can be occasionally tough, but it's also always fair. Every death is an experience gain, and there's usually few things you can do to get out of a really tough spot. Resident Evil 0 isn't hard or challenging, it's frustrating. It's a collection of ideas that just don't create a fun experience when put together. I got softlocked 2 times in my playthrough, not being able to get where I needed to because of being almost dead, while not having any resources left to deal with the enemy ahead of me. So I just completely ripped apart the main gameplay, and sadly, there's nothing to really pick this game up. I already talked about the visuals, they can't be more mixed, including both the best and worst areas out of any Resident Evil game. Its post-game unlocks are the obnoxious Leech Hunter mode and the option to play as Wesker. And the story doesn't help much either for a simple reason. It doesn't really work either as a standalone story or as an interesting prequel. It sends Rebecca on this bonkers adventure that she just doesn't mention at all afterwards, and everything this game adds to overall lore is muddled and confusing, not helping with the infamously convoluted plot of the series in the slightest. In conclusion, this is the most mixed I ever felt about a Resident Evil game, and it's absolutely the worst classic survival horror entry of the series. I see what they were trying to do, creating an alternative experience for fans of the series, a hard mode of sorts, but they failed on every single level. If you really feel desperate for a survival horror Resident Evil and already finished all of these at least like 5 times, maybe consider giving this a try, but maybe just give these another replay. I really hope you enjoyed this video as much as I enjoyed making it, and in case you did, please consider liking, sharing or even subscribing, it would help this channel a lot. My name is Bate, thank you for watching, take care and I'll see you soon.